You know that feeling? It starts as this quiet, nagging pressure deep in the back of your skull. You're in a crowd, and you just want out. Well, what if I told you that's not a flaw? It's not something to be fixed. Today, we're going to dismantle the guilt around needing to be alone and completely re-architect it as a fundamental requirement for a certain kind of high-performance mind. Let's dive in.
So picture this. You're at a dinner, a party, maybe just a busy office. The people are great, The conversation is totally fine, but something inside you is just screaming for the exit. You're not bored, not at all. It's the opposite, really. You are completely and utterly saturated. Every laugh, every single clink of a glass, every subtle glance across the room. It's all a high-resolution data packet, and your brain is processing all of it. I want you to think of your brain like a computer, like a high-end editing machine. While everyone else seems to be getting energized by the crowd, your system is capturing everything in stunning 8K resolution. It's this incredibly high-fidelity recording of your entire social environment. And just like any high-performance machine, that process, well, it consumes an enormous amount of resources. So that feeling of saturation, yeah, that's your mental RAM hitting its absolute limit.
And this is the part that really hurts, right? You start thinking, man, there's got to be something wrong with me. Why can't I just enjoy this like everyone else? Society slaps a label on it, you start to believe it, and all you want to do is just vanish into a quiet room, but you feel antisocial or broken for even thinking it. We're here today to tell you that that is the wrong framework entirely.
So first things first, let's just dismantle this whole myth. We're going to completely reframe this experience, moving away from all those negative, kind of broken labels and shifting toward a new identity, one that actually reflects the reality of how your mind works. So on the left, you see what society gives us, these easy and frankly lazy labels: introversion, avoidance, oh, you're missing out. But look at the structural reality on the right. This tells a totally different story. You're not hating people, you are performing a system-wide reboot. This is not a personality flaw. It's a metabolic necessity for something we'll call cognitive decompression.
And that brings us to a new term, a new identity, the high-resolution sentinel. This is who you are. Your brain processes all that social data with such incredible detail and fidelity that being alone isn't a luxury, it's essential. It is the only time your system can switch from just capturing data to actually making sense of it all.
I love this because it reframes the whole thing. It's not about loneliness, it's about system maintenance. You are an architect consciously designing the quiet space your high-performance 8K mental engine needs to cool down, to process, and honestly, to prevent a total system crash. All right, so let's pop the hood for a second. What is actually happening in your brain that makes solitude so non-negotiable? This all comes down to the real metabolic cost of constant, high-fidelity social monitoring. The field of neuroergonomics gives us this fantastic analogy. Most people, they have what you could call a dandelion brain. Their internal filter, the thalamic gate, it's really efficient. It filters out all the background noise. For them, socializing is a pretty low bandwidth event. But the Sentinel, you have an Orchid brain. That gate is wide open. You experience this thing called hyper-attunement, performing this intense parallel processing. You're tracking the conversation, the subtext, the tone, the environment, all at once. And you can actually kind of quantify this. Think of it like a law of physics for your brain. Your social load is based on the resolution of the data, times how long you're there, all raised to the power of your own sensory sensitivity. And when that load gets too high, your brain basically hits the emergency brake. That's what we call the social hangover.
But here's where the magic happens. The second you're truly alone, your default mode network, the DMN, it clocks in for its shift. Think of it as your brain's office manager. It can't do its job while new data is flooding the inbox. But in solitude, it finally gets to sort, file, and make sense of all that 8K footage. This is exactly why your best ideas almost never happen in the meeting. They pop into your head hours later when the noise finally stops.
So what this really means is that forcing yourself to stay at the party, it isn't productive, it's not some kind of personal growth, it's like trying to write complex code while someone is constantly shaking your desk. You're not actually achieving anything. You are just accumulating a massive cognitive debt that you're going to have to pay off later.
So, if you're not a social failure, then what are you? This next part is all about installing a new, more accurate, and way more powerful identity. It's about seeing that this need for solitude is actually a sign of integrity, not weakness.
It's this simple. You are a lighthouse. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a powerful metaphor for a very good reason.
So think about it. A lighthouse is built for one core purpose: observation and guidance. Its powerful light cuts through the fog, providing high-resolution, life-saving data to ships at sea. But what about the inside of the lighthouse? It's a place of structured solitude. You can't have a party up in the lantern room, right? It would obscure the light, it would stress the machinery, and the entire mission would fail. Your mind is that lantern room.
And this, right here, is the core takeaway. This powerful drive to be alone isn't you failing socially. It's you maintaining your most valuable asset. It's a profound sign of intellectual integrity, a deep protective instinct to preserve the very lens through which you see the world with such incredible clarity. Okay, so we've got the what and the why nailed down. Now let's get to the how. We're moving from theory to practice with a really clear, actionable framework. This is the Solitude Protocol, designed for the Sentinel who wants to stay calibrated and effective.
Here are 4 steps you can start implementing today. First, the Input Zero Hour. Schedule 60 minutes every single day with 0 inputs. No phone, no music, no podcasts. Let your DMN do its job. Second, strategic exit planning. Before you even go to an event, decide on your hard-out time. The goal is to leave when your tank is at 80%, not when you are running on empty. Third, the digital fast. Look, solitude is not being alone with your phone. It's being alone with your thoughts. You have to disconnect. And finally, and this one is crucial, label the need. Stop making up excuses. Just state it clearly. I've hit my processing limit for today and I need to go recalibrate.
That last step, it's a total game changer. When you label the need accurately, you shift the entire narrative, both for yourself and for the people around you. This is no longer about some kind of social weakness. This is about effective resource management for a high-performance system. Simple as that.
So here's the bottom line. You have to accept your own architecture. You were never meant to be a dandelion, just thriving in the middle of all that noise and chaos. You are the sentinel, observing the world with stunning clarity. You are the lighthouse, providing guidance from a place of stability. You are the architect, designing the very environment your mind needs to thrive.
So embrace that. Stop seeing silence as some empty space you need to fill up or escape from. See it for what it truly is. Silence is not your enemy, it is your laboratory. It's the place where all that data finally becomes wisdom and where your greatest work actually gets done.
Okay, picture this. You're at a party, the music's fine, people are chatting, but you feel this quiet pressure building up inside your head. You're glancing at the door, you're checking the time, you're just looking for an escape. You know that feeling, right? Well, a lot of us do, but we don't really get why. So today we're going to dive into the hidden science of your social battery, and I'll show you why needing that quiet time isn't a weakness, it's actually your greatest strength.
And that's it right there. That's the whole thing. It has nothing to do with being bored or uninterested. It's about being completely overwhelmed with information. Every little laugh, every conversation happening in the corner, every tiny shift in someone's expression, it's all data, and your brain is trying to process every single packet. It just adds up until you feel totally saturated.
I mean, this is such a perfect way to put it. It's like your own internal computer is just running too many programs at once. And while some people seem to feed off that energy, you can physically feel your cognitive resources hitting their limit. Your whole system just slows down. It's a real feeling of overload. So why? Why does this happen to some of us and not others? Well, it really comes down to how we're wired. And there's this fantastic analogy that helps explain it. Think of it this way. Are you a dandelion, someone who can pretty much thrive anywhere? Or are you an orchid, a little more sensitive, needing just the right conditions to really bloom? Okay, this slide just breaks it down perfectly. For a dandelion brain, a party is like a low-bandwidth video stream. Their brain's filter system, it's called the thalamic gate. It's super efficient. It just blocks out all the extra noise. But for an orchid brain, oh man, that gate is wide open. You're not just hearing the one conversation in front of you, you are processing everything in stunning high res. This is a real thing. It's called hyperattunement.
So let's go from that cool analogy to the actual hard science, because this isn't just some personality quirk you have. It's a real, measurable, metabolic process that's happening right inside your brain.
This right here, this is the massive job your brain is doing. Research shows that orchid-type minds, sometimes called sentinel minds, burn way more glucose in their prefrontal cortex at social events. And why is that? because you are literally parallel processing. You're running all these programs at once, decoding the words, reading the subtext, sensing the mood of the room, and trying to manage your own reactions. It is absolutely exhausting work.
So you can actually quantify this drain. Now, I know this looks like math homework, but stick with me. It's pretty simple. Your social load is basically the amount of data you're taking in, that's the data resolution, multiplied by how long you're there. But here's the kicker. All of that gets amplified, like exponentially, by your built-in sensory sensitivity. This is exactly why a short, intense party can feel way more draining than a long, quiet hangout with a friend.
And when that social load gets way too high, what does your brain do? It pulls the emergency brake. It kicks in a safety shutdown to keep the whole system from crashing. You know that foggy, irritable, just completely wiped out feeling you get the next day? You're not being dramatic. That's a social hangover, and it's a very real neurological recovery state.
And this is exactly why forcing yourself to just be social when you're already maxed out is such a bad idea. You're not actually having fun. You're not making deep connections. You are just racking up more and more cognitive debt, which only makes the crash that's coming that much worse. So, what happens when you finally get away?
This is where the real magic happens. The second you are truly, completely alone, a totally different part of your brain clocks in for its shift. It's called the default mode network.
So meet your brain's office manager, the DMN. You can think of it like the night crew that only comes in after everyone else has gone home. It only powers up when that constant flood of outside information finally stops. Its job isn't to take in new stuff, but to process everything that's already in the system. And this totally reframes the idea of doing nothing, right? It's actually one of the most productive things you can possibly do.
This is exactly what your DMN is up to. It's sifting through all that high-resolution footage from the day, sorting it, filing it, connecting ideas that seemed totally unrelated. This is why your best ideas almost never happen during the chaotic meeting. Nope, they pop into your head 3 hours later when you're in the shower. You have to shut off the input to let the integration happen.
Okay, so understanding the science behind all this is step one. But step two is actually taking control. This isn't about hiding from the world, it's about learning how to architect your life to work with your brain's operating system, not against it.
I love this metaphor. It's so powerful. Think about a lighthouse. Its whole purpose is to engage with the outside world, to observe, to guide. But its core function completely depends on a protected, solitary space inside. Your mind works the exact same way. Your real value is in what you notice, and that solitude is what keeps your light shining bright.
So here it is, a clear, actionable plan. Number 1, the input 0 hour. Literally schedule an hour a day with no inputs. No phone, no music, no podcasts, just you. Number 2, plan your exits. Decide before you go to a party, when you're leaving, get out when you're at 80% battery, not 110%. 3, a digital fast. Being alone with your phone is not being alone. And finally, number 4, label the need. When you have to leave, don't apologize. Just say you need to recalibrate. You're not being rude, you're managing your energy.
And you see, when you start doing these things, you stop feeling like a victim of your own sensitivity. You become the architect of your own silence, of your own cognitive space. And please remember this, that high-resolution brain of yours isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's what allows you to see the patterns and the details that dandelion brains just filter right out. Solitude isn't about hiding away. It's the essential maintenance you need to do to keep that unique lens of yours clean and sharp. This is such an empowering idea. I mean, the greatest thinkers and creators throughout history, from Newton to Einstein, they were masters of solitude. They knew that to get to the really deep, profound ideas, you have to disconnect from all the surface noise. Your need to be alone isn't a social failure. It's a sign that your mind is doing serious work. So I'll just leave you with this one last question to think about. The next time you feel that pull to just get away and be alone, ask yourself this. It completely flips the script, doesn't it? It goes from a narrative of shame to one of purpose. You're not running away from anything, you're just heading back to the lab, where the real breakthroughs happen. All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about something I think a lot of us feel, this deep, sometimes confusing need for solitude. And we're going to explore why it's not some kind of social weakness, but actually a crucial function for your brain. Have you ever been there? You're at a party, maybe a wedding, surrounded by people you actually like. But then, this weird feeling starts to creep in. It's not boredom, not at all. It's more like you're just full, saturated.
You've hit this invisible wall, even though you're supposed to be having a great time. So what is going on there?
Okay, so right off the bat, let's get one thing straight. That feeling of being totally overwhelmed, it is not a personal failing. It's a system overload, plain and simple. And yeah, for so many of us, it comes with this heavy dose of guilt, right? Like you're doing something wrong by wanting to escape. So in this first part, we're going to dig into why that happens and, hopefully, start taking that guilt apart.
So try thinking about it like this. For some brains, every little thing, every laugh, every bit of small talk, even the tiny shifts in body language across the room, it's all like a high-resolution data packet. It's a ton of information. And while some people seem to just thrive on that social energy, your brain is over there trying to process all these giant files at once. It's no wonder your mental RAM just completely maxes out.
And here's the absolute key takeaway. That feeling, that desperate need to get out of there, that's not you being antisocial. It's not rude. It's basically a biological need. You're not rejecting the people around you. Your brain is just screaming for a system-wide reboot. It's time to stop collecting data and start actually making sense of it.
Okay, so that's what it feels like. But now let's get into the why. Why do some of us feel this so intensely? Well, it all comes down to the way your brain is actually wired. I love this analogy from the source material. It suggests that most people have what you could call a dandelion brain. You know, dandelions are tough. They can grow anywhere. These brains are robust. They have great natural filters. They kind of operate on a lower bandwidth, easily tuning out all the extra noise. But then, there's the Orchid brain. It's a high-fidelity system. The sensory gate is just wide open. It takes everything in, no filter.
And this state, there's a name for it: hyper-attunement. Think about what that means. You aren't just hearing the words someone is saying to you. At the exact same time, you're processing the subtext of what they mean, their body language, the sound of ice clinking in a glass on the other side of the room, plus your own internal monologue about all of it. It's like running 10 different software programs at once. It's incredibly intense.
So you can basically quantify this. Let's call it your social load. It's a mix of the amount of data you're taking in, how long you're in that environment, and then it's amplified by your own personal sensitivity. And when that load gets too heavy, your brain just hits the emergency brake. It triggers a shutdown. And that awful, drained feeling you get the next day, that's your social hangover.
And trying to force yourself to just tough it out and stay, it's completely counterproductive. I mean, the source puts it perfectly. It's like trying to write complex computer code while someone is just constantly shaking your desk. You're not actually connecting with people anymore. You're just racking up what's called cognitive debt.
All right, so we've laid out the problem, but what if it's not a problem? What if it's actually a feature, not a bug? This is where everything shifts. We are about to completely reframe this whole experience, moving away from feeling like something is wrong with you and toward a real sense of purpose.
And this is the new identity that I want you to try on. I want you to reframe your identity as a lighthouse. Stop thinking of yourself as the person who can't handle parties. Instead, picture yourself as a lighthouse. I mean, just think about it for a second. What is a lighthouse for?
Well, a lighthouse's whole purpose is observation and guidance, right? Its beam cuts through the fog, providing super high-resolution data to ships that need it most. But, and this is the key, have you ever thought about what it's like inside the lighthouse? It is a place of total, structured solitude. Imagine if the keeper invited 100 people up into the lantern room for a party. The light would be blocked, the complex machinery would get all gummed up, the whole mission would fail. You are that lighthouse, and your mission is to protect the lens.
Yeah, you are the sentinel. Your value to the world is your unique ability to see the patterns that everyone else misses. And protecting that lens, that means you have to embrace solitude. Because when you're alone, you're not just doing nothing. Your brain is performing this incredible, vital process called long-term potentation. Think of it as the cleaning and focusing cycle for your lens. It's where you strengthen the important neural connections. Without that solitude, all the information you took in just stays as a jumble of fragmented data. But with solitude, it gets turned into synthesized wisdom. And look, this isn't some new age concept. Not at all. History is absolutely packed with these kinds of high-resolution minds who just got this. They understood it instinctively.
I'm talking about people like Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla. These guys weren't just loners by chance. The source calls them architects of isolation, and I think that's perfect.
They knew that to see the world in, 8K truth, they had to unplug from the constant 240p noise of everyday social life. The really big, game-changing breakthroughs, they almost always happen in the deep quiet.
So that really brings us to this idea right here, and this is maybe the most important part of this whole reframe. Your desire to be alone, it is not a sign of social failure. It is a sign of intellectual integrity. It's a sign that you have a mind that requires clean, quiet, specific conditions to do its best and most important work. Period.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? Being a lighthouse, an architect of isolation. But how do we actually do it? How do we put this into practice in our real, busy lives? Well, let's get into a clear, actionable protocol for managing this.
It's called the Solitude Protocol, and it's pretty straightforward. First up, the Input Zero Hour. This means you schedule 1 hour, just 60 minutes every single day with absolutely zero external input. No music, no podcasts, definitely no scrolling, just you and your thoughts. Second, strategic exit planning. Before you even walk into a social event, decide your time limit in advance and stick to it. Third, a digital fast. This is a big one. Being alone with your phone is not solitude. Put it away. And finally, and this is crucial, label the need. Stop making up lame excuses for why you have to leave. Just state it clearly and without guilt. Something like, hey, I've had a great time, but I've hit my processing limit for the night and I need to go recalibrate.
And when you do this, you see the shift in identity happen right before your eyes. You stop being the awkward person who left early. No, you become the architect who returned to the lab. You made a conscious, strategic choice to go where the real work gets done, where all that data you collected gets turned into something meaningful.
And that's when the guilt just evaporates. Because you finally understand that solitude isn't a withdrawal from life. It's preparation for mastery. Silence stops being your enemy, something you need to fill with noise. It becomes your laboratory. It's the clean room where your most profound insights are forged.
So I'll just leave you with this question. You are the lighthouse. You are the sentinel. You are the architect. And now you have the protocol. So, how are you going to start today, consciously and without apology, architecting the silence that your incredible mind needs to truly do its work? All right, let's get right into it. There's this question that so many of us wrestle with, right? How do we find some real, deep quiet in a world that's just getting louder and louder without, becoming a total hermit? Well, that's exactly what the Solitude Protocol is all about.
Think about this for a second. Have you ever been at a party, maybe a wedding, or even just out with good friends, and you're having a blast, but you can literally feel your internal battery just plummeting? You're enjoying yourself, but at the same time, you're just done. Why does that happen?
Here's the key insight. It's not that you're bored. Not at all. You're saturated. See, every single interaction, every little joke, every conversation, every subtle change in body language, it's all a high-resolution data packet that your brain has to catch and process. And it's doing that nonstop. And that leads to what we can call the social hangover. This isn't some kind of personal failing, okay? It's a system overload. It's like your brain's RAM hitting 99% capacity. The whole system is just about to crash. So that feeling, that desperate need to find a quiet room or just leave, that isn't you being antisocial, not even close. It's your brain screaming for a system-wide reboot. It has to switch from just taking in all this information to actually trying to make sense of it all. So let's geek out a little on the science behind this because it's pretty fascinating. Why do some brains feel this overload so much more intensely than others? Well, it really boils down to how we're wired to process all that social data in the first place. Okay, so let's use an analogy here. You've got the dandelion brain. It thrives pretty much anywhere, efficiently filtering out all the background noise. It actually gets energized by crowds. But then there's the orchid brain. It's a little different. Its main filter, what's called the thalamic gate, is basically wide open. It's not filtering, it's recording everything in super high fidelity. This state is called hyper-attunement, and what it means is you're not just listening to the words being said, you are parallel processing. You're tracking the actual conversation, the subtext underneath it, the vibe of the room, and your own internal reaction to all of it, all at the same time. It's like running multiple heavy-duty programs at once, and it is incredibly taxing on your system. You could almost write it out as a formula, a kind of law of physics for your brain. Your social load is determined by the intensity of the data times how long you're exposed to it, all raised to the power of your own sensitivity. And when that load hits its maximum capacity, your brain pulls the emergency brake. That's your social hangover right there. It's a safety shutdown. So what do we do about this? Well, the first step is a massive reframe. We've got to stop thinking of ourselves with these negative labels like loner or antisocial. We need a new identity, something more accurate, more powerful. We need to start seeing ourselves as architects of silence. Or maybe even better, as a lighthouse.
I mean, just think about that metaphor. A lighthouse's whole purpose is to guide others, to shine a clear, steady light through the storm. But to do that, what's it like inside? It has to be a place of quiet, of structured solitude. If the inside of the lighthouse were as chaotic as the storm outside, it would completely fail at its job.
And that solitude, that quiet time, it's not passive. Your brain isn't just off. It's actually doing some of its most important work. It's sorting, connecting, and integrating all that high-resolution data you took in. This is the process where scattered experiences and bits of information get synthesized into actual wisdom. And hey, don't just take my word for it. History is filled with these architects of silence. I'm talking about people like Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla. They all understood, on a deep level, that to achieve profound insights, they had to intentionally disconnect from the constant noise of the world.
Okay, so we've got the problem, and we have our new empowered identity. Now we need the how. We need the practical toolkit. And that brings us to the core solution, the Solitude Protocol.
And it's actually pretty straightforward. It's just 4 simple steps. Think of it as a toolkit to help you calibrate your system so you can stay connected to the world without getting totally fried. Let's break them down, one by one.
Step 1 is the input 0 hour, and honestly, this one is non-negotiable. You have to schedule, and I mean put it in your calendar, 60 minutes every single day with literally 0 input. No phone, no music, no podcasts, no books. Just you and the silence. This is what allows your brain to finally flush its sensory buffer and start that integration process we talked about.
All right, step 2, strategic exit planning. Here's the magic number, 80%. The whole key is to leave a social gathering when your battery is at 80%, not when it's at 0. Because leaving when you're completely drained means you're already broken. Leaving at 80% means you get home with energy still in the tank. It's a game changer. Step 3 is so important in our modern world, the digital fast. Let's be really clear about this. Being alone while you're scrolling on your phone is not solitude. Your phone is just a portal to infinite noise. True restorative solitude requires total digital deprivation. You have to give your neurons an actual break from the constant dopamine loop. And finally, step 4, labeling the need. When it's time to make that strategic 80% exit, don't apologize or make up some lame excuse. Use a clear, honest script like this one. You say, I've hit my processing limit for today, and I need to go recalibrate. See how that shifts things? It's not an apology. It reframes your exit as an act of responsible resource management. You're not being rude. You're taking care of your system. So let's wrap this all up. It's time to completely reclaim what silence means to us. We need to stop seeing solitude as some kind of withdrawal from life and start seeing it for what it truly is, a critical preparation for mastery.
And if there's one thought I want you to walk away with, it's this. Your quiet time is not empty space. Silence is not your enemy. It is your laboratory. It's the place where insights are born, where raw information becomes real wisdom, and where you get to sharpen the lens through which you view the entire world.
So what's the bottom line? You weren't built to thrive in constant, chaotic noise. You are the sentinel. You are the lighthouse. You are the architect of your own inner world. So be the observer. Go on. Reclaim your silence.